My name's Colleen Getty, and we're going to welcome everybody to this new podcast format, which will also be on video, where we're going to catch up with authors that we already interviewed for the Journey of a Story series, and we're calling it Journey of a Story Revised.
I love that name.
Yes, thank you. I didn't come up with it. You and Adam did.
Okay, whatever.
But we're here with Carol Gordon Ekster. The last time we talked to her was 5 years ago. And I have a feeling a few things have happened along the way since your Journey of a Story back then. So why don't we just ask you to kind of tell us where you are now and what have you been up to? Anything, Carol?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I've been very actively writing and through the pandemic, very actively. I never had problems. I think it helped get me through. So I have been writing, and luckily I sold a book in Some Daddies. Is coming out May 17th. And I sold it back in 2000 and the end of 2018 to the beginning of 2019. And I wrote it in 2017 and exactly a year later, which is very fast for me. Compared to some of my other books. Wow. So that was wonderful. But meanwhile, it was delayed a year because of COVID, and the editor, took maternity leave. So it seems like it was very fast in the buying of it. But meanwhile, It's 2022.
Wow.
So that it's coming out. So yes, it's a slow world, the world of publishing.
It is.
Yes.
But so 5 years ago, I know you were talking about You Know What?
Yes.
Which was your book that
was my fourth book.
Okay.
This is my fifth book. But I did want to show, because I'm very proud of it. So after the interview, actually 2 years later, it came out in Korean.
Oh, wow.
Which I knew about the rights, but this is the first book I've seen. And actually, I found it online, the Arabic version.
Oh, wow.
I never saw it yet. And then I contacted the company and said, I see online there's an Arabic version. And they said, oh, we'll send it to you and to the illustrator. I still haven't gotten it. That was like at least a couple of months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That is very cool.
Yes.
And have you heard anybody reading it out loud in those languages at all? Or?
No, but I can't read this at all. And what was fascinating is I love the internet. I love how it, just makes the world a smaller place, because I put on social media that I got the Korean version. I can't read anything. And there were extra pages in the back that I have no idea what it said.
Oh, wow.
And somebody said, I have a Korean friend, take a picture of those back pages. And like in a few days, I had the translation of what that was in the back. And it was very touching. It was by a principal who wrote about, it's what, so it's a discussion between a parent and child, but they focused on the importance of talking to your children. And about answering questions and how they need us. I thought it was just such a lovely addition.
Right.
And that was the Korean publisher,
oh, that's amazing.
Connected. So I would have never known what that was.
Happened upon it.
Yeah, because I was curious. I can't read anything. I was curious what those extra pages were.
Yeah, so in your publisher, they don't tell you?
No, because they sold the rights.
Okay.
So the Korean publisher can do what they want. They paid for the rights, and they just have to send a copy to the publisher, to the illustrator, and to the, I think I got 2 copies.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
And so how long from when you released your book in English did you
2
get a
years.
copy of
That's a
this?
2019.
2 years? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
That's amazing. That's pretty fast in the grand scheme of publishing, right?
Yeah,
anything that's less than 3 years.
Well, but they had it. They just changed the cover, but they had everything. They just had to they had to get a translator. So that took some time.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So since last we saw you, now you have Some Daddies.
I have Some Daddies. Yes.
What was had you come up with a million ideas since 5 years ago?
I do.
This was the one that stuck, or how did this?
You know what? I have so many ideas. I do Story Storm. I don't know if you know, during January, Tara Lazar came up with this idea to, every day there's a blog post, something to inspire picture book writers.
Right.
And I do it, and I list the 30 ideas or whatever comes to me. But I really find that like if I'm moved by something, I get on it right away. I have a ton of different things on my desktop. I have a ton of ideas, maybe just a title, maybe a couple of words, but it only some of them do I really act on right away. And this one, because I wrote it down, it was December 17th, 17. I was FaceTiming with my grandson, who at the time was 3.5. And I guess my husband came down and had like, the tissue on when he shaves. He had bleeding over it. And he goes, Gigi, you shaved? And he said, yes. He goes, my daddy has a beard, and when I grow up, I'm having a beard. My daddy shaves, but I'm going to have a beard because I'm going to be a daddy. And I said, Isaiah, some daddies have beards. And like, it was like, wait a minute, Isaiah, I got to write that title down. Some daddies have beards. And that's how it started. I wrote the title down, and I was excited about that title for some reason and that whole story. Yeah. And very shortly after I wrote it, I wrote a couple of drafts. I brought it to, I think, 3 critique groups. And a year after that conversation, I saw on Submittable that it was taken. I submitted it on, not exactly submitted it, but on this, I don't know if you heard of Twitter pitches.
Yes.
I love Twitter. And there was a picture book Twitter pitch. I pitched this book.
Okay.
And Naomi Kruber from Beaming Books hearted it, which means she liked it. I should send it to her. And I was away for the month of December, and I looked at Submittable. I don't know how I found it. It said, we are interested in this. And I didn't answer it right away. And I got like, oh my God, I hope they're still interested. I was like, like a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
And then I called them. I kept calling. I guess Monday was a holiday when I got back, whatever. Finally, I got through. Yes, we are interested.
Oh, wow.
And, it was all very exciting because I love the concept, and it has developed more and meant more to me as the time has gone on. In how I changed it in her. It's like amazing to me. It's such a subjective business. She was looking for a daddy story.
Oh, really?
She had a vision for this. I wrote it. It started with Some Daddies Have Beards when I first wrote it. And like critique partner said, you have to kind of, why you're starting with Some Daddies Have Beards, maybe start in the morning. I got like input. So now it starts more in the morning, how daddies wake up. And and I simplified the title to Some Daddies. And I don't remember how that, came along the way, because it doesn't start with that. But it's more about some daddies, not just having beards. But I love the idea that kids can see. They're at a sensitive age, picture book writing age kids, like when they're noticing, hey, my daddy doesn't throw me in the pool like the other kids. My daddy doesn't do this with me. Or how come my daddy is very quiet? Yes. And it became that kind of book to show that every daddy is different. That's a repeated refrain.
Right.
So
I feel like it harkens back to the age-old child argument of, why can't we have this like our neighbors, or why can't we do this like
exactly?
And it sort of brings it down to even a smaller scale on the daddy level. Do you remember what your pitch was that won them over?
Yes, I do. And actually,
I don't need to put you on the spot, but I know pitching can be sort of.
I actually have it because you told me to bring different things. It said. Some Daddies, a 351-word concept picture book with heart. Some daddies grow beards. Some tuck you in with a song. Some are called Baba, Tati, etc. Every daddy is different. This is a repeated refrain. The book opens a possibility for illustrations to show differences, looks, ethnicity, family structure, etc. And that was it. And it changed because I at some point I had all the different names for daddy. And cool. She said, that's not really what the book is about. The editor, I loved working with this editor because she definitely had visions that we can't have vignettes every time, and to have that, the structure, and to have like some scenes, like first the child, one of my favorite scenes was in the playground, and the child falls. And so the next scene, and I love this line, some hold their arms out to catch you. Oops. Every daddy makes mistakes. Every human does. And then and she had such specific ideas, like the next one should be in like a doctor's office.
Right.
So
after the daddy made a mistake.
Some daddies share confusing words and cry with you. Others love making you laugh. Some barely hug. Others hug like bears. Every daddy is different. And I think I didn't plan all this, but afterwards, like I said, I feel like that was like just meant to be, because my daddy barely hugged. And that was an issue for me as a child. Yeah. Because I remember feeling uncomfortable being alone with him. Like, is he going to hug me goodbye? Because he wasn't affectionate. But he was such an amazing daddy. Yeah. You know, in so many ways, and so thoughtful and generous and loving in other ways, that we have to know who we're dealing with, that's how our daddy is,
you know. One form of love or one, sign of it.
So I like that. And I'm in a, something called Courage to Create. It's a group, through the Writing Barn. And I love that she asked, like, what's your big why? Why are you an author? What's your big why? Mm-hmm. And when I saw the sketches and the text for this, all in, I said, oh my God, the why is I want kids to understand they're not alone. Because see, I didn't know. I thought, how come my daddy? Is anybody else worrying about their daddy hugging them? Right. But every daddy is different. Right. And maybe I show this, maybe it'll make it easier for some kids to look at, oh, he might not do that, but he does this. Yeah. And that's what I realized, through the writing of this, that's my big why.
Yeah. And hey, I think daddies need to know that too, right?
Right. And accept themselves.
that they're fine the way they are.
Or maybe have a conversation with their child. Hey, I don't do that. But remember, I'll take you bike riding, but I'm not going to toss you in the water. Right. Like your friend's dads, or different, whatever it is. Yeah. I think books open conversations. Yes. So, but I think that's, hard for me as well to know that not every book I write has such an important, concept or theme that is worthy of publication. Mm-hmm. So I might have, I don't remember the number I had 5 years ago, but now I have over 120 manuscripts. Oh, wow. And many of them will never be published, nor should they. They're not big enough. You have to have something that's going to fit a lot of children. And I'm grateful I have this. And I have a book coming out in 2023 Ooh. That I wrote in 2013. Not quite as quick as this.
A decade later.
Oh my God. And it went through, I don't even want to tell you how many rejections, and I don't want to tell you how many revisions. It just was kind of a lot, but I always believed in that story. It was a kind of a story of my heart, and I didn't know why. See, now it comes out, it has more layers now. Mm-hmm. But during the pandemic, I realized, look at those truckers. Look at the importance of truckers. And this was called Trucker Girl at the time, and now the title is Trucker Kid. But I think because I added an author's note at the beginning of the pandemic, I went back to that. That was manuscript number 52. Okay. Out of 120 something. Wow. And I went back to that, added that author's note, fixed it up a little bit, worked with my agent that I had at the time. I had an agent for 1 year, and she sold that book. Oh, wow. So I think everything is kind of timing, or if someone has a vision. And I look back at that story, and I'm so grateful it's coming out, because I read that and I go, oh my God, I really did a good job using like trucking words and vehicle words, and it has multi-layers. So you talk
like a truck driver? Is that what you're saying, Carol?
No, like something like she's as tired as a stalled vehicle. It had, okay. I'm proud of the writing. Yeah. I'm proud of it. And it wouldn't have worked maybe 10 years ago. Right. But now I think we all saw what happened with the truckers. I think I have a new appreciation. I just used to look at them as like big, scary trucks. That's what my daughter and I used to call them when they're passing by, when she was learning to drive. Oh, so wow. I think everything has a time and place, and you have to be patient. Yes. And like that business, we have to, in this particular children's publishing world, we have to be patient.
Yes. There was a couple of things I was thinking of, but one of the things which I know you showed me that had to do with your book was the surprise of the inside? Are you
Oh
able
my
to show us
God.
that?
Yes, I would
or-
love to show you because I'm a big one. I know we talked about it 5 years ago. When I read Megan Dowd's reading books with children, I was so touched by the art form of picture books. I mean, I love picture books, but I never really thought of the art form. From the title page, it sometimes starts a story. And especially the end pages. So this is something I got. This is the first time I've gotten an ARC, an advanced reader's copy, that the publisher gives you a few copies of these. They send it out to reviewers. So it's not the final book.
So you didn't get that with your other books?
No, I never
wow.
got an advanced reader's
Really?
copy. So I was very excited to get that. But when I opened just a couple of weeks ago, I got my author copies. It's not out yet, May 17th. Did I say that? When I got it and I opened the book, I got very emotional because it did have end pages, which I just love. And I feel like then I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, what a fun thing. It's like another layer. It's just like the outlines of everything that's in the book. So like when I showed it to my grandson, he wanted to find every single thing that's on the end pages.
Yeah, that's so fun.
I love that.
Like an extra activity.
It's an extra activity. I have my end pages because I think that's part of the art form.
Yes.
I just think picture books are like amazing. Really.
And honestly, I feel like that's part of the art form of all books. Unfortunately, it's gone away. But like the journals that I prefer, they actually also have like patterns in all different patterns on those pages, the front and I like that, you know. I mean, I think that books even way long ago, I feel like they had a pattern or a texture to those inside pages, not to that degree of illustration, but you know, like even just a flower pattern or something that kind of added to the.
Well, I don't think I realized, and remember, I was a teacher first, so that was. Right. I was totally invested in that. I don't think I understood enough about picture book formats because now I'm seeing sometimes the color of the end pages has some kind of significance.
Oh, wow. What do you mean?
Which I know, I'm trying to think of, like if it was a book about the ocean, they specifically picked a blue end page, or like if they were angry, like red, and then it softened at the end, and they picked a different color for the back end pages. I mean, I've seen so many different things over the last few years about what the significance of the end pages were.
Right.
And I didn't get that. I have probably looked at it, or I never noticed. I just looked at something with, I forget his name, The Oldest Man to Run the Marathon. Such a beautiful picture book. And in the beginning, they told him he'd never really walk. He had some issues physically, and he would spend his time while other kids were running around by the, I think it was avocado tree or something. And so in the beginning, it's all avocados, the end pages. And at the end, it's him with his like running shoes and the a medal.
Oh, wow.
So I like that. It even showed the transition, which is what I asked for my Trucker Kid book. I want something, they said, you know, probably we'll see what happens.
Right.
Either the trucks that she drew on the refrigerator, like, you know, thinking about her dad because she missed him, or maybe he'll come up with something else.
So do you have to ask for those end pages? Or
I don't remember asking for end pages. I think I mentioned it could be all the daddies in the book. So, but then I saw this and I said, oh, they're not having end pages. Yeah. And then I saw this and yes, they're having them. So that was great. But so I don't know. I mentioned it with the Trucker Kid. I mentioned I would love to see perhaps those, you know, more trucks that were either on the refrigerator, or perhaps in the beginning he's alone and at the end she's in the truck. I gave, but you don't know. I love that the experience I'm having, especially with this newer book, Trucker Kid, that I'm involved, that they send me the sketches and ask my opinion. Okay. It's really very special.
Different from your other ones?
I didn't with the text back and forth, but I wasn't really involved in the illustrations with this book until the end, which and a few times it was a little too late after, because she did everything by hand, which is unusual. Right. But this is her first picture book.
Oh, wow.
So
she's a debut illustrator?
Yes, a debut illustrator.
Awesome. Yeah. And what was her name again?
Javiera McLean Alvarez. She's from Chile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So that's awesome. And I just love the idea, you know, I'm sure we both love art as well. Even though we're writers, appreciate
Right.
all art forms, and I just love the different layers, I guess, to the reading experience when you have just that little extra detail.
Anything
that
extra.
you
We
can
want
enjoy.
more.
Right. And that a child, when a child really loves a book, they're gonna read everything, look at everything,
Right.
and really take it in. So that's awesome. So going back 5 years and now zooming forward to here, anything that stands out as that changed for you as a writer or as a person or as just a creator that you feel like, I wish I knew that 5 years ago, or this sort of haphazard thing happened and it just changed the course of how I write, or anything that kind of stands out to you?
I did get an agent, which was the most amazing thing, because I think writing, and I just was at the NESCBWI, the New England Society of Children's Writers and Illustrators Conference this weekend. And it's even the really big names go through this. This is a tough business. It's ups and downs, rejections, even top names are still getting rejections. And I think when I got an agent, it was like a sign of, I'm okay. I'm good enough, because it's frustrating. I still don't feel good enough. I still feel like I wish someone could teach me perfection, or maybe I just would like to write everything so perfectly. And I just think it's hard. It's a very hard job to write a picture book, to get everything down to the essence and not have extra unimportant words. And I think for me, I struggle with the traditional arc, making a story that has, as problems and a satisfying ending, and, the traditional picture book. This is more a concept, it's just a concept, but it does have that arc about going through the day.
Right.
But for me, when I got the agent, it was like, oh, finally, I have someone like to run everything by. Otherwise, I'm like thinking about everything. You could have some critique buddies, but now someone who was invested in this career with me.
Right.
And it felt like a whole different thing. And,
and where you're saying it's so subjective, you almost can't, there is no perfect when when the target is always moving, or when the preference is always moving. So at least maybe feeling like you had one person who already liked your writing, that you can kind of use them as the measuring tape to.
Right. And she was lovely in that she didn't, she had tact, let's put it like that. Like, this isn't your best, we're not going to send this out. You have stronger works or whatever. But we parted ways after the sale of Trucker Kid, and I miss that. And I see how hard it is for a picture book writer to get an agent. And sometimes I it's just too much to keep, getting the rejections. Sometimes I'm on a roll, or I hear about an agent who's open and I send it in.
Why is it so hard, do you think?
Well, I asked that question at the conference.
Oh, yeah.
And she was point blank honest. And I knew the answer kind of. You don't make much money as a picture book author, very little. So they're making 15% of very little. And the work involved for picture books is much more than for like a middle grade or a YA, because like I see for the one the agent sold for me, she's CC'd on every email. So he sends the sketches, the questions, I don't know that she's looking through everything, but she has an invested interest. So, that's a lot of work to go through. I had to go through, it took me a couple hours to go through the text and the sketches and make sure everything's right. This is what this agent at the conference said, a different agent, was being honest. The amount of work, the amount of emails, the amount of contact with the editor and the author, and the small pay is a reason that, they're not so crazy about getting a lot of picture book authors. But some people love picture books, so they're interested. So I said, is it, but you're more interested in, this is what I always heard, the author illustrator. She said, no, because, and that
Yeah, I
shocked
feel
me.
like that changed too then.
No, well, she said no, because it's very rare for someone to be terrific at both the writing and the drawing. See, I thought because it doubles their commission, because for the,
you're just
they don't have to
coordinating with one
divide up,
person.
right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
That is
Some
interesting.
people are really good at both. But anyway, that was a revelation for me. And so I realized that, but I also realized that I'm very blessed that I have continued, that's going to be my 6th book, and that I have now 2 editors who, without an agent, I can just send my work to, because I work with them.
That's great.
So not that she has taken it, and the one for the trucker kid, I have something else with him that I hope goes to final acquisition. So I'm just, you keep your fingers crossed. There's always hope.
Right.
There's always hope in this business. So I keep that hope alive as best I can. Yes, I keep trucking, but sometimes it's hard.
Right.
But like when I meet with you, or it's inspiring, or I go to the conference, it's inspiring. You need to connect, because this is a lonely business.
And I think that's been probably the biggest challenge over these last 2 years is it's already hard enough, finding and getting together with a community as a writer, just because it is a very solitary act. But then compounded with everything was shut down, even the conference, which I also went to for NESC BWI tongue twister, was online,
I loved when I met you at the last one. But you know what? I still think that we were able to in so many ways. I was happy because the NESCWI has Monday mingles. I go most Mondays. Now they have, the published on one and regular on another. And then they have, some specialty mingles.
Right.
So it's not every Monday, but it's a way to reach out, to connect. Those have become important to me. And even, I don't mind. I was able to go to like the LA conference because it was virtual. So there were a lot of ways to connect in other ways,
right?
That Zoom allows. During the pandemic, we had a critique group years and years ago, but somebody moved away, and now we can do it by Zoom. And now we continue that group, which was a wonderful group,
right?
Because it's on Zoom. So there were some new ways to connect
that's true. Yeah,
we hadn't really explored before.
Yeah.
So
and that's same with my critique group. We're hybrid now. We're back in person, but one of the fellas, they retired to Cape Cod. So, but he's still tuning in now that we just bring our computer and put him at the end of the table. Feels like he's right there. So yes, so there's definitely been good and challenging, we'll say, about these last 2 years. But so if you had some advice, we kind of say this with the first time around, but now with 5 more years under your belt as a seasoned pro in the writing world.
I don't feel like a pro. Seasoned, yes.
A little spice. Maybe anything that you could share that you think that could help somebody go 5 more years, could help somebody be more patient with the industry that you've experienced, can take a long time.
I think that you just have to remember that it only takes one editor, one agent, to just hang in there, because if you don't, you have no chance. And I truly believe that. And the thing I probably said the last time, if you asked, you have to read. I still am getting piles of picture books. Thank God for libraries. I had a grab and go almost every week. And I'm still doing the grab and go. I don't have to carry it all the way down. But every book inspires me in some way that I read. All the picture books that come out, the ones that win awards. I just read one this morning that was so perfectly written that I get chills. And I don't do that often, because to me, a picture book has to be, for me, lyrical, beautifully illustrated, and a moving story. If you get all those, you get 5 stars. Some people get 5 stars anyway because they're good. But I am so moved when someone gets it all right. And this was the story of George Washington's the person who was enslaved by him, Una, O-N-A. Oh, I don't know how to, Oni or Ona. And it was just a gorgeous story. And so then I think, oh, maybe I should pare down more, because it was very pared down, very poetic. And they inspire me to be a better writer. And then if I read something I don't like, I say, see, I shouldn't do that. It dragged on too much, or they use too many adjectives. It reminders. It's a way of studying the craft by seeing what other people do. Right. So those two things, just hang in there and keep reading every picture book you can get your hand on. If you want to write picture books, if you want to write middle grade, read every middle grade.
Right.